Hey guys, it's JP. I get asked all the time, John Paul, what is the number one bank for getting 0% business credit? And while I don't like to just choose a number one bank, if I'm letting the data show for itself, that number one bank right now, I would have to say is Chase. And the reason I say that is whenever I am taking a client, I first bring them on, we're getting ready to fund their business. I would say about 50% of the total amount of funding that we get that specific client will come from Chase. So if we're just letting the data show for itself, Chase is that number one bank. So what I want to do today is I want to show you in hopefully the next 10 minutes the exact strategy I take when applying for Chase and how on average I will get, when it's all said and done, over 100K at Chase alone, and how a lot of times I will get 75K approvals on one single Chase card. And one thing I want to be fully clear about is by making this video, I'm not claiming that you're going to get the same results. I don't know what your company structure looks like. I don't know what your credit profile looks like. You're not a client of mine, so I cannot guarantee by me giving this to you you're going to get the same results. All I can do is just show you what data I have in the exact strategy that I use at my company, FundWithCredit.com, to get these results for other businesses. So now that that is said, let's go ahead and hop in to the first thing that I do. So the first thing that, let's say that the credit profile is optimized, the company is structured perfectly. We're not going to talk about that today. We're just going to go straight into the strategy. We're going to say all of that is perfect. You're optimized. We're ready to start moving on applying for Chase right now. So if that's the case, the first thing we need to do is we have to set up a business bank account. They like to see that relationship of having a bank account with them. It's even better if you have a personal credit card with them as well. But let's just say you have nothing with Chase and we're just going to move forward from scratch. So the first thing, you need to set up a business bank account. After that is set up, the second thing that needs to happen is you need to drop cash into that account. Now, in an ideal world, I like to see 10K dropped into the business account. If not 10K, then 5K. If you don't have any cash to drop into the business account, then you can move forward without putting any money in the business account. And actually, you can move forward without even having the business account, period. I actually have a really good friend who recently applied for Chase. He did have a personal checking account with them, so I will say that. But he did not have a business checking account, obviously did not have cash in the business checking account, and just went straight to applying for Chase. And he ended up getting 100K 0% at Chase. So you 100% can make this happen, but what I will say about him is his credit profile was crazy optimized. So that's an outlier, and I'm not going to say that every single person who does that is going to have the same results. In fact, most people who do that are not going to have close to the results that he had. What I'm sharing with you is the exact process I use because it's tried and true. This works very, very, very well for me and very well for my clients. And this is the exact process I personally took whenever I got my funding from Chase. So business bank account, if you can drop 5K, if you can 10K, if not 10K, 5K. And if you're wondering, well, I don't have that type of liquidity, how can I do that? Well, the way I do it for clients is if they do not have that type of liquidity to just put into the business bank account, then I will actually apply for a high limit personal loan. Once we get the personal loan funds, drop that into the business bank account, and then we apply for Chase. And I know a big misconception out there is, well, okay, well, I'm going to apply for that personal loan. Now it's going to show my credit report, and it's not going to look too good, and it's going to affect approvals. Well, I don't know. If people are saying that, I don't know what type of data they have. I haven't seen the same thing. I have many, many times applied for a high limit personal loan, dropped that into the Chase business account, and then we got really high business credit approval. So I don't know. It works really, really well. So if you do not have the cash to drop in, I would do that. It's just the easiest way. But if not, then you just move forward with what you got. Now, with some banks like American Express, you can just hop online and you can fill out the applications there. With Chase, you can do the exact same thing, but I tend to see the approvals lower whenever you do it online. Whenever you go online, I see the approvals around 10 to 20K per approval. Whereas when I go through what I'm about to explain in a second, a business relationship manager, I see approvals as high as 75K on a single card. So it makes a lot of sense to go through a business relationship manager. So just to kind of recap, we have the business bank account. We dropped, let's say 10K, into the business checking account. Now, step number 3 is once the cash is no longer pending and it's fully settled in the bank account that usually is done in like 1 to 2 business days, you then need to hop on the phone with a business relationship manager. If you're unfamiliar with what they are, they're pretty much the middlemen that work at the bank, but they work with business owners to help them get approved for credit products. They'll set you up business bank accounts if you want them to. They'll apply for business lines of credit, business credit cards. In this case, we're going to use a business relationship manager to apply for the 0% business credit cards that they have. Now, after you've talked to your business relationship manager, normally they only want to talk for about 5 minutes. They have this policy called KYC. It's know your customer. So they just want to hop on the phone with you for 5 minutes. What's your business about? Who you are, how long have you been in the industry? They just want to get to know you a tiny bit. And after they get to know you, this is when you're going to ask them to send you the business credit card application. And the first business credit card that I always apply for is the Chase Business Unlimited. Now, you don't have to go for there you can see it. You don't have to go for the Business Unlimited first. You can go for the Chase Inc. Business Cash because they're both 0%. And I don't think it really affects approvals. It's kind of just routine at this point. I always go for the Business Unlimited first. So I just would recommend going for the Business Unlimited because, I don't know. That's what my data shows, so that's what I'm going to do. You're going to ask them to send you the application for the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited. And what they will do is they'll take your email, they'll email it over to you, and then once you have received it, it's going to come in as a DocuSign. You then will open it up and you actually just fill out the application like you would if it's an online app at, American Express. So you have to get on the phone with the relationship manager for 5 to 10 minutes. But when you actually fill out the application, it's going to actually just be pretty much online because they're just sending a DocuSign to your email. Now, when you get the application and you're about to fill it out, this is really important because sometimes it's hard for me to make these videos and tell you exactly what to say because once again, I don't know how old your company is, what your credit profile looks like, all of that. But what I can give you is just some ranges that are fairly broad, but it's what data points I use depending on how old someone's company is, what their credit profile looks like, all of that. So I'll do the best to give you the most detailed data points as I can. So once you have the Business Unlimited application, you want to really see what your score is. I would not personally apply for Chase if my score was below 720. I would make sure that your score is above 720 before you even go through any of this I just talked about, because the approvals just aren't going to be great if you're below 720. You'll either be denied or you just won't get that high of an approval. So I would make sure that you're above 720 before you even apply. Now, if you have a business or if your business is under 1 year old and your credit score is above 720, I would put on the application that your business revenue is $600K. Now, I know that a lot of times when I'm sharing these big numbers, it scares people because it's like, okay, well, my business isn't making any money or my business is making significantly less than that. I totally get that, and these data points still work just fine, even if your business is making $0. I have worked with many, many businesses that their online companies were not making any money yet, and we still put these data points and still got approved. No doc, no proof of income, anything. So these data points do work even if you are making zero money. If you're making, let's say, only $100K a year, you can still put $600K a year, and the data points will work out just fine. Just fine. So you have the application, you're going to put your revenue. If your business is under 1 year old, I would put somewhere around $600K. If you put too high revenue year one, it doesn't look realistic. If your credit report is really, really strong, you could put higher data points, but $600K is perfectly fine to get a high limit approval. And if your business is under 1 year old, I wouldn't request the $75K credit limit on the application. I would request $50K. If it's under 1 year old, $50K. I've seen many, many $50K approvals. I haven't seen very many $75K approvals if the company is under 1 year old. So that's what I would do if the company, or for data points, if the company was under 1 year old. If the business age is between 1 to 2 years, you can actually get away with higher revenue. I would up the revenue, if this is the case, to 1.2 million. I have put 1.2 million many times. It's worked out just fine. And you don't have to put exactly 1.2. You want to make it look unique. So like you could put, 1.15, 1.13, just somewhere around that 1.2 million, just over a million. I'm going to say anywhere between a million to 1.2 million is what you should put for your business data points. But the same thing here, even if your business is not making close to that, or if you're not making anything at all, you can still put these data points and they work. The reason they are able to do this is if the company is structured properly, and if the business or if the personal credit report or personal credit profile of the person applying is strong enough, they will approve this. So obviously you have to have those things dialed first, but these data points work even if you have zero revenue or very little revenue. So 1.2 million. Now here's where things can get a little bit, not trickier, but a little bit more unique. So since your business is between 1 and 2 years old, you can apply for 75K on one card if you wanted to, but your score needs to look a certain way before you do that. If you're going to apply for 75K on a single card, so on the Business Unlimited, in this case, you want to make sure that your score is above 760, and you want to make sure that you have a personal credit card on your profile with a credit limit of 15,000 and above. If you have a credit limit with 15K and above and your score is above 760, you can shoot for 75K and get approved for 75K on a single card. But I'm just going to say this, that it's a lot easier to just go for 50K on the first card, and then we'll go for a second card. So, there's two ways to kind of apply for funding at Chase. You can apply for 50K on the first card, get approved, and then apply for the second card. So in this case, it would be the Chase Business Unlimited, and then you would apply for the Chase Inc. Cash second. But this is if you applied for a 50K credit limit on the first card and was approved. If you apply for 75K on the Business Unlimited, your first card with Chase, I usually don't recommend going for the second card because the approval odds aren't very good on the second card immediately after the first one if they gave you 75K on the first one, because they always come back and they're like, well, we just gave you 75K on this one card. Like, why do you need more capital with us? So I'm going to assume that we are applying for 2 cards and not going for 75K on the one card. I just wanted to tell you because I do utilize that option sometimes, but it's a little bit trickier of a scenario, but the 50K approval is very easy to get. So if the business is between 1 to 2 years old, you're going to put 1.2 million in revenue. And I have notes off to the side. So if you see me tipping my head over to the left, that is why. I'm just making sure I have all my data points correct for you. So I put 1.2 million. Now, if the business is 2 years and above, in this case, you can actually get away with putting between 1.6 and 2 million in revenue. And I mean, once again, you have no revenue, low revenue. These data points still work just fine. So I would recommend putting somewhere between 1.6 and 2 million if your business age is 2 years and above. Same thing here. You can apply for a 75K credit limit if you want, but the same thing applies. It'd need to be a score of 760 plus, and you need to have a personal credit limit on a single card of 15K plus. So we're just going to say we're going for 50K on this first card. So those are the data points. If it's below 1 years old, I'd put 600K in revenue. If it's between 1 and 2 years old, I'd put 1.2. If it's 2 years and above, I'd put somewhere between 1.6 and 2 million. And if you do this exact strategy, the business bank account, talking to the RM, and then you put these data points, you should get 50K on this first card on the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited. So now you have 50K, 0% at Chase. Now, when that approval comes through, you want to immediately hop back on the phone with the business relationship manager and tell them that you want to apply for the Chase Inc. Business Cash and have them send you the application for that. Chase tends to give back-to-back approvals here when you use the relationship manager and you do it this way. So you want to, as soon as that application is approved, hop on the phone and ask them to send you the application for the Chase Inc. Business Cash. Now, one thing I need to say right now is if you apply for the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited and that application actually ends up getting denied, then you need to Google Chase reconsideration line, call the reconsideration line, well, the credit card reconsideration line, hop on the phone with an underwriter and try to get that approval pushed through, because sometimes maybe you type something in wrong on the application. Maybe your address is wrong. Maybe you put in your social wrong. It could be, if you put anything wrong in the application, it would technically it will show up as a denied status, but it wasn't denied because you weren't qualified. It was denied because of a technicality. So if that happens, you need to hop on the phone, call the reconsideration line, talk to an underwriter, and try to push that application through. Because I've had this happened to me personally. The first Chase card I ever got, I applied and I typed in, I believe it was the EIN incorrectly, and it was denied. And I ended up having to call the reconsideration line 5 times before they finally approved the application, because I ended up getting, after I called them and got back on the phone, for some reason I got a couple of underwriters who weren't having that great of a day, so they didn't want to push it through. And then I talked to a couple of them. They just were acting a little bit strange. They didn't want to approve it. And then finally, the 5th person I talked to on the phone at Chase was in a good mood. They were so happy to fix the technicality, get me approved, and pushed it. So if that application is denied, do not be afraid to get on the phone, call the reconsideration line, and push that application through. Most of the times, if you put your information incorrect, this will be auto-approved and you will not have to do this. But in the event it does not get approved, hop on the phone with them. Make sure that goes through. I mean, this is a $50K 0% credit line. Now, it's not 0%, forever. It's 0% for the first 12 months. But still, this is $50K in funding we're talking about. Like, how much further can you take your company if you have $50K to throw into it? So, I mean, don't be afraid to hop on the phone and, fight them to get this approval. And you're not actually fighting. You're just getting back on the phone until you finally get basically a rep that wants to work with you, and then they'll get it approved. So, we're approved for $50K on the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited. We've gotten on the phone with the business relationship manager. We asked them to send us the application for the Chase Inc. Business Cash. And once we get that DocuSign in our email, now we're going to go through the same exact thing that we did on the first one. The data points will be identical. You do not want to change the data points here, because if you change the data points, then it's going to get denied, because you literally just put revenue, a certain revenue on the first one, and then here's the second application and you put completely different revenue. You want to make sure that the revenue and everything you put is identical to the second application. So I'm not going to run through the numbers again, because I already did that for about 5 minutes. So you're just going to put the same exact numbers. The difference here is we are going to request a $35K credit limit on this one. I have seen plenty of people apply for $50K on the first one, $50K on the second one, and get approved for both at $50K, but I've also seen applications get denied using those data points. Now, the most tried and true for me method, what has really worked for me and my clients, is you apply for $50K in the first one. When it's approved, you apply for $35K on the second one, and I have had a very, very high success rate with that. And I mean, honestly, like, there's not that much of a difference either with this. Like, with what's working really well for me gets you $85K. Do you really want to push it to get an extra $15K? Probably not. At least I don't. So I always do $50K and then $35K on the second one. And then most of the times if the first one got approved, the second one is going to get approved as well. And now you have $85K in 0% funding for the next 12 months at Chase. $85K. One single bank. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. And that's why I say they're the best bank, in my opinion, as of right now. They are just very generous. They love to help out small businesses. So they love lending. So Chase has a close place in my my heart right now. But here's where I want to, because I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have gotten a lot of times over 100K at Chase. Now, this is how you get over 100K at Chase. So you have your 2 approvals, you're at 85K. At this point, you want to use your cards, pay them down, use your cards, pay them down, and you want to do this for the next 6 months at the very least. After you've done that for 6 months and shown them that you can responsibly spend on the card, this is when you will actually take a different approach. You will go online, so you're not going to go through a business relationship manager this time. You're just going to go online and you're going to apply for the Chase Inc. Business Preferred. This is the third card that we'd be getting with them. So Business Unlimited, Chase Inc. Cash, And now we're going for the Chase Inc. Business Preferred, and we're just doing this as an online application. And the reason we do this is because I've noticed after 6 months, they will normally give you another 20K approval. So you already have your 85K. Now, 6 months later, you apply online, and then they'll normally give you another 20K. Now, here's what I'm going to say about the Chase Inc. Business Preferred. You will get another 20K, so you'd be at 105K total. But this is not 0%. That one is not 0% for 12 months. The reason I like the Chase Inc. Business Preferred is because of the perks that it has. It is, you get a high sign-up bonus normally. So they'll normally give you about 90,000 to 100,000 bonus points when you first get the card and spend like 6K on the card. So you get a large points bonus in the beginning. And also for online businesses that are running ads, the Chase Inc. Business Preferred gets, I believe it's 3x, so 3 points per dollar spent on ads up to $150,000 a year. So let's say that your company is growing really fast and you spend that full $150,000 on ads in a single year using the Chase Inc. Business Preferred. That would give you 450,000 points, travel points at Chase. Now, if you pair the Chase Inc. Business Preferred with their personal card, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, that one gives you a 50% boost on your points when you use your points to book travel. So that 450,000 points would then become worth 50% more, which would give you somewhere in the ballpark of around 7,000 a year in free travel. That's exactly, so when I'm running ads, I 100%, I use the Amex Business Gold because it gets 4 points per dollar spent. But I personally like Chase points more. That's why I focus on this one. But the Chase Inc. Business Preferred gets 3 points per dollar spent. So when you spend 150K in a year, you'll get 450,000 points. Because I transferred my points over to my Chase Sapphire Reserve, I then get that 50% points increase because I'm using the points to book travel. And because I get that 50% increase, that makes the points worth roughly 600. Yeah, it makes them around like 600 to 700,000. And then if you break those down into, if I'm using that for travel, that gives me about $7,000 in free travel. So you literally get $6,000 to $7,000 in free travel every single year just because you're running ads to that card. Nothing else. You're literally running ads to grow your business, but as a side perk, you're getting $7,000 in free travel to go wherever you want. And that's a very, very, very nice vacation if you didn't know. So, well, I don't want this video to be as long as all my other videos because normally they're very long. So that's the strategy. If I was bringing on a client right now and we were about to run through Chase, this is the exact strategy I would take. And it's worked very, very well. And I'm really hoping that it works well for you. So that's all I have for you. And I hope to see you soon.